Okay. I want to welcome everybody to the Soapbox. And this is a place that we've invented for people who work and help in recovery. And so they can just tell how they feel and get some important subjects off their chest. And today, my guest, and I want to introduce her, Nanette Ginise from Self Care for Recovery. She's a licensed massage therapist, and I was very fascinated when we got together. I was fascinated by what she did, how she did it, and what she stood for. So again, I want to introduce Nanette to everybody. Hello, Nanette, and thank you for coming.
Good morning, Richard, and thank you for having me.
Yes. This whole thing about what you do, I'll let you explain it because I've been doing a little bit of research and looking at it after I talk to you, and I feel like it's fascinating. And I think that I'm pretty sure that enough of us working in this field don't really understand as much as we should about what you're going to talk about today. So Nanette, first of all, before I go any further, little housekeeping here. This episode is brought to you by Second Starts. We work for families and recovery and help the entire support network of young adults. And we work by installing a permanent self-refueling transformation. And we start from day one. And we try to introduce this in a way that eliminates the guilt and shame of recovery. So Nanette, give me that Cliff Notes version of who you are and what you're about.
Okay, so my name obviously is Nanette. We've talked about this a number of times already.
Yes.
I founded Self Care for Recovery. I myself, I will disclose this to your audience. I'm a woman in long-term recovery. I have a sponsor who's always telling me to get a service commitment. So I sponsor a lot of women. Some of them are in a transitional house. I said, why don't I do massage therapy with these young ladies? Give them a quiet healing space. It grew from there. It was really well accepted by the administration, the staff. They just said, we love when you come here. Changes the energy. So I've been there going on my fourth year in this particular building. It made me realize how important, well, even as a massage therapist, I already know this, how important touch is. And the healing power. You yourself are a nurse. You understand that. There's nothing more powerful than the kind healing touch of a nurse. Sorry, I'm like cheerleader for nurses. I want to bring this into the recovery community. There's a lot of trauma in the recovery community, and touch is very powerful. A lot of people have not been touched in a kind, loving manner in a long time. And like you said, there's a lot of stigma when you say I'm in recovery. People kind of shun you like it's changing. I'm glad that language is changing because a lot of times the first instinct is, oh, well, that person is morally failing.
Right.
And again, that makes the person feel kind of unloved and unwanted and untouchable. This past weekend, we did a fundraiser for Self Care for Recovery. And I actually talked to a couple healthcare professionals and a criminal lawyer. And they felt that this was really important and needed to be integrated more into the recovery field. They asked me how I felt about acupuncture, how I felt about meditation. I said, these are all really important tools.
I agree 100%.
So it was just nice to hear that coming from that professional sector saying, wow, we really love what you're doing. This is really exciting. And then sharing their insight on it. I think what blew me away was the doctor saying this.
Yes, and that's important because for a number of reasons, some good, some bad, they're at the top of the heap. Mm-hmm. So usually most of us who are trying to help I say rightly or wrongly, we end up trying to impress them because they're basically the first line of what we perceive as recovery. Right. So listen, this is how we're going to start this. This is when I say to you, Nanette, climb up on the soapbox because I'm going to shoot some things at you and I want you to let me know how you feel. The first thing I want to ask you about and get your feeling on is talk about massage specifically as a non-clinical adjunct to this recovery thing, specifically how you feel about that.
My training as a massage therapist, we always learned that physical pain, like muscular pain, could be addressed by massage therapy, right? You got sports teams that all got their massage therapists. You got a physical therapy. They're always doing massage. They don't send you to a massage therapist. The PTs do it, but it's always that manipulation of muscle fiber. So that's the premise of massage therapy.
Right.
Also, when you're releasing all that stuff, and I've spent a lot of years teaching and studying traditional Chinese medicine, we're made up of these energetic pathways. Besides in Western medicine, nerves, but also qi. You relax the muscles, qi moves. You relax the muscles, the nerves are not impinged. You're going to feel a better flow, right? Never mind just treating the muscles or the joints, whatever
Right.
you go through. With that in mind, I want to focus more on releasing the tension and the stress and the trauma that's stored in the body, right? There are a lot of excellent practitioners out there that do hands-on, that help remediate injuries and body imbalances. And I'm not going to go into that territory, though I can do that work too. I integrate that. Obviously, that's how I was trained. But I want to help heal the inner wound, help heal the spirit. Massage gives you that hour or a half hour or even 90 minutes of quiet time that's just yours. You're in a safe space. The client can relax, let go, and feel.
Okay.
And that's very, very healing to have that safe space to just kind of I'm just going to let this all fall out.
Exactly. Exactly.
The Body Keeps Score. Great book.
Okay. Listen, one more thing. Let's move into this on the soapbox. I want you to expound on this too. Everything that you know and feel about the healing power of therapeutic touch and just touch in general. You know, how do you feel about that? And why have you chose to bring it to the people the way that you have brought it to the people? To do.
Because my experience in life is when I feel bad, even as a little kid, you would go to your mom for a hug. You fall
Right.
down, you scrape your knee, your mom kisses your boo boo. You feel great. You
Right.
see your grandmother, she gives you a great hug.
Yes.
That's all touch, right? That's all
Right.
touch related. You're feeling bad, somebody puts their hand on your shoulder. Powerful, right? I want to take that and expand that. That's healing, that's comforting. That's reassuring to somebody who suffered trauma,
Yes.
right? Give them that space.
Uh,
That's where I'm going with this.
oh, okay. Next issue. Talk to me about what you perceive as the different pathways to self-care and recovery. You know?
Okay, so the different pathways are, right? You first have your medically assisted treatments, which are
Right.
fine and dandy, but
Mm-hmm.
and I don't disrespect that. A lot of people need that to get started.
Right.
But we need to learn to be comfortable in our own bodies without always being reliant on that medication. You can do both, but I feel you need to balance that
Yes,
because
I
you can't
agree.
always be running to your doctor saying, "Can you up my medication?" or "This isn't working." We need to be more responsible for
Yes.
ourselves. And
Yes.
this gives us that power.
Yes.
And
We
that's oh sorry, go
Our
ahead.
mindsets are very similar in that manner that I do believe in all the disciplines, but I believe that if any of them think that they can do it independently, that's pretty much where we run into trouble.
Mhm.
My thing has always been, we need the top line, but we also need the people with the therapeutic touch, for example, or anyone who works in any of the disciplines, because people are similar, but people are very complicated. And every angle that we add to the recovery process gives us a greater chance of success. One area doesn't ever seem to work.
Mhm.
One approach in one area just by itself, medically, the medical standard alone has a very, very, poor outcome without additional therapies, and additional therapies without the medical standard suffer, and without the uh, lesser known and lesser used therapies like you're promoting right here today, we also keep our numbers down. And my thing is, it's all about increasing the percentage, because when we increase the percentage of people we help, we increase the percentage in the outcomes. So don't try to knock, hey, it's hitting singles, not hitting home runs. I try to tell them, we just
Right.
got to keep working at it and keep working at it. This is good. Talk to me a little bit about your organization and the actual work that you're doing in places. And tell me a little bit about self-care for recovery.
Okay. It's run by it's run by this woman here who doesn't like to always complain about things, um, because I don't want to be part of the problem. I want to be part of the solution. That's what made me could go to do this. I can tell people you need to do this, you need to do this to help support your self-care, but I need to get out there and do that. So that's what I'm doing. I've also brought Reiki and acupuncture along with me to these places to show them that there's things in our world that can help us to maintain that multiple pathway to self-care. It's not just
Mm-hmm.
going to the hair salon. Um, so that's a big part of it too, looking good.
Sure.
So I started out in women's transitional house in Port Chester, New York. I live on the New York,
Okay.
Connecticut state line. It just started there, real simple, doing a little bit of massage, and it's grown. I'm in my 4th year there.
Okay.
I said, this is awesome. Let me reach out to some other organizations. It's really hard.
Mm-hmm.
I've actually had a place where a lot of these women come to a meeting I go to, a beginners meeting, and I've reached out to their director, and she goes, I don't think massage will be good for these girls. And I was a little like, okay,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
we can't even have a conversation. I'm like,
But yeah.
I'm not asking, but anyway, that was hurtful to me. Um, there was smaller rehab here in town. I reached out to a larger organization here in Connecticut. Um, it took me a little finagling. I knew somebody that knew somebody on their board, and they were the one who got me the introduction because I did
Okay.
send a lot of proposals and I never got any response. So sometimes I hate to say that that's who you know that
It's
can
who you.
that can open
It's,
open a door for you.
it's definitely who
But
you
I'm
know.
grateful to this person because they opened a huge door. So I'm with them in their families in recovery program. They have a rehab for women um, and children. So these women go into rehab. They can either bring their children with them. A number of them are pregnant. A lot of them are just trying to recover to get their children back from DCF or
Mhm.
family or whatever. Um, that's a great place to work too. I love working with these women, um, and they appreciate it. The other organization in Connecticut, I got involved with them because I was now in this place. I had a leg to stand on, and I actually went to one of their conferences last year and spoke on massage therapy as a non-medical adjunct to recovery. So from that, just doing that little bit of service massage at one place has been able to allow me to carry this message into other places. I was recently invited to an open house at another organization here in Connecticut called Recovery Network.
Okay.
They love what I'm doing, and they have a women's house up in Bridgeport, it's about a half hour from here, that we're looking to set up into there. So this is my dream to start growing it. Now I need other massage therapists because I only have 2 hands.
Yes, definitely. And if I got a couple goals in this show, one goal would be to have you talk about your organization. I want anybody who may be listening to this now or in the future to don't be afraid to get in contact with Nanette. And if it's something that you can integrate into your practices or your situation, or just get some more information about her that are open up to you. Two, she won't tell you this, but I will. If you go to self-recovery, selfcareforrecovery.org, there is a place for donations. If you don't want to actually, you're not in a position to have an organization to have her help, you can help her. So we're not going to be shy about asking for that. She may be, I'm not. So I think that's very important. Uh,
I
Nanette?
appreciate that, Richard, because my board members always say, why do you have a problem asking for money?
No, don't have a problem asking for money, because you know what? They're asking for money.
Mhm.
They're all asking for money, and it's something that's important. I want to remind my guests and people that are listening, excuse me, that I'm going to include, when I do post this show around, that we're going to include some extra notes. And if we're lucky, we can get Nanette to give us some tidbits and really give us some nailed down stuff that you can do to get in touch and help her. And there's a couple of things that we're going to talk about that have nothing to do with with recovery, but I'm always a curious person. I always, when I talk to Nanette, I ask her, I said, listen, I like to know a few things about people, get me to know them. I ask a couple questions, a few questions. I asked her what her favorite color was. Nanette, what's your favorite color?
Um, it sounds kind of, it's always that kind of creepy thing, but black.
Mm-hmm. Now, when I read that, I try not to I just for curiosity, give me a general feeling. But for this one, I had to check on this one. And I looked it up, and it said, what does a color choice mean about a personality? And it came out and said, strong-willed and determined,
Oh,
not afraid to go after what you want. That's what it says, people who like black. So that's an attribute. You knew it was an attribute anyway, but I don't know if you were sure what attribute it was, but
I had no idea. I like black because I've always known it to be all the colors pour into one. It makes black. So it's
okay.
all the colors.
Okay.
Um, and I've loved the color black since I was a kid.
Okay. So,
And I always kind of liked it because it was kept a distance between me and people.
okay. Okay. All right. Um, I asked you what your favorite movie was. I don't know if you remember a response you gave me, but try to give it to me again, because this is,
There's too many.
yeah. Okay.
I've been told I don't know what the word favorite means because I'll say this is my favorite. This is my, and they're like, Nanette, a favorite is one. No, it's all of them.
Okay. Okay.
And I'm kind of embarrassed to say what my favorite. When people ask me that, my first thing to say is Scarface. That's always been a favorite of mine. And
Okay.
Godfather 1 and 2. I don't know why. Maybe
Okay. I'm getting the picture here, Nanette, which is interesting. It's interesting that you combine it with therapeutic touch healing and massage therapy. Yeah, that's a good one. I
right.
enjoy that.
I got to
And
tell to riff off of that really quickly.
go ahead.
I taught massage in a massage therapy school for about 19 years,
Okay.
and one of the what an exercise I did with my class was doing hands on, like resting your hands on people, and we used
Hmm.
to do a neck thing, and I would say we're going to do Italian neck massage now, but without the piano wire. Sorry, my students love me. At
I
least I had a
enjoyed it.
sense of it.
I enjoy the humor too. So, last thing I asked you was favorite foods, and you didn't give me a food, but you gave me something I think even better than a specific food. Remember what you said?
Chocolate and salt.
Chocolate and salt. That's more, not just two foods, but two feelings.
Hmm.
Two feelings about food. And you know what? As soon as she said that, I said, wait a minute, I like those too.
Yeah.
I had specific foods in mind, but chocolate and salt will do it, because a lot of times that's pretty much the two things you're looking for. Either something sweet or
And they
something.
work together, Richard. They work
Yes,
together.
they do. I know that. I do have a taste for those chocolate covered pretzels myself. Yes, and I don't know if you tried it, but that the chocolate covered bacon is sinful.
I've tried that twice, and
Yeah,
everybody says, ew, but I'm like, no.
yeah,
You've got fat, you've got chocolate, you've got salt, you've got savory. I'm
yes.
sorry. I'm
You-
drooling.
no, yes, good. So Nanette, listen, I want to remind everybody again that I'm going to be providing notes in the places that I post this, so everybody can get a little extra feel. I'm working on a couple extra things because I want to go into this a little further, uh, even for myself, to understand what you're doing and be better. Because, like you said, as a nurse, that's part of our feeling toward the subject too. But it's funny. we don't necessarily talk about it as much as we try to do it. We understand it, but when I talk, it's not something that we actually talk about. We talk about, you hear a nurse say, what's therapeutic touch, but I'm pretty sure that we don't go into it and get as much value out of it as we could. And, someone like you could teach us and help us with. So I appreciate you spending a little time with me on the soapbox and give me a little insight. I appreciate it so much. You don't know. Last housekeeping matter before we go. I'll say it again. This episode is brought to you by secondstarts.com, helping the family and support networks of young adults in recovery by installing a permanent self-refueling transformation. Again, Nanette, thank you for being on the soapbox. And everyone, we will see you next time.
Thank you so much. This was fun.
Great. All right. Thank you, dear. Bye-bye.
Talk to you soon.
Okay. Nanette.